Hey everybody. I know you were looking forward to not seeing my ugly mug for a while, but here it is. Just a quick recap on what you've got to do with the 1920s project. You're going to create a website, a blog site, and write 10 stories about the stories from the 1920s. You're going to write them as if you were there at the time, so you're not going to look back historically. You're going to write them from the point of view of living in the 1920s. And thankfully, the 1920s has a myriad of stories to choose from. We have the Treaty of Versailles, which many people blame for the starting of World War II, which of course ended World War I, punished Germany so much that a lot of people think it caused World War II. That came into effect in January 2020. Then you have Prohibition, which also came into effect in early 2020. And of course, the women's right to vote, the three massive events in itself. And then you have the rise of Al Capone because of Prohibition. You have the mob and organized crime. You have the wild parties, the Gatsby-like existence of many of the new rich people of the 20s. You were throwing out the old Victorian age moral standards, and you had flapper girls wearing short dresses, which shocked and horrified everybody over the age of 35. You had sports stars. You had Babe Ruth, who dominated the decade with the New York Yankees. You had the NFL started in the early 20s. You've got Crossing the Atlantic with Lindbergh. You've got so many different stories to research and choose from. You've only got to write 10 and 150 words for each one. So altogether it's 1,500 words. If you research 2 stories a day, you'll be done easily by Friday. You will have to set up the website, and mine is an example to use. Have tabs for each year of the decade and then put your story underneath. Can you promise me one thing, that before you click publish, you will read the stories yourself so that they make sense? That's one of the hardest things we can get students to do, is just to read it to themselves after they've written it. A lot of you do it already, but some of you don't. So please, if you'll take care of that. What else do I want to mention about the 1920s? It was a breathless time. It was new music, new dances, all sorts of cultural revolutions, jazz. You had the Harlem Renaissance. You had the rise of the KKK, who at one point had over 4 million members. What else? The first commercial radio stations. So marketing became a whole new aspect of American life. You started to see Babe Ruth advertising products, and then other sports stars and other well-known people, celebrities, started to advertise stuff for the first time. We'd never seen it before. Right at the end of the decade, of course, you have the Wall Street crash, which, as many people think, precipitated the Great Depression, although a lot of people argue that it didn't actually do that. So your job is to create this website, this news blog website, and try and do it in the style of the 1920s. I've tried to create a little bit of that feel on my example website. So that's what I want you to do. And this is all due by next Sunday night. 10 stories, blog site finished, everything. It's worth 100 points. And some of you need that. So please, please, please get to work on it. And guys, try and make sure you're diligent in apportioning your time. I know this to some people feels like a extra vacation, but it's not. As you can imagine, it's not. We're working together, all 3 of us, every day, talking about what we're going to do and what we're going to put online in the next few weeks. This 1920s project is going to run for about 6 weeks, and there will be various aspects to it. I'll get you to look at inventions from the decade and create a commercial to do with that invention. That I hope is going to be a kind of a fun little assignment. And so every week there's going to be a different aspect that I'm going to try and get you to look at connected to the 1920s, and get you to produce different things. And I'm going to get you to pick a figure from the 1920s and create an Instagram page for that figure. any historic figure from the 1920s. So that's further down the line. For this week, I just want you to get after the blog site, write your 10 stories, put some pictures up there with each story, 2 pictures that are relevant to the news story. And also, if you can put some advertisements on the blog site for the product that you did for entrepreneurship, that'd be pretty cool. So try and get that done. That'll be bonus points. I'll give bonus points for people who come up with an advertisement for their product that they created for the entrepreneurship project. So I think that's about it. Have fun with it. Write your stories. Research properly. Don't cut and paste. Don't plagiarize, because that will be a 0 and not good, guys. So make it your own writing and write as if you're there. Okay? Don't write looking back from a historical point of view. Write as though you are there in the 1920s. And it is an amazing decade. Absolutely incredible decade of upheaval, change, revolution, and of course it led into the 30s with the Depression era, but the 20s was not about depression. It had nothing to do with it. The 20s was a time of economic growth. It was a time of liberation for certain groups in society and cultural change beyond anything we'd seen before. So enjoy the project. Any questions? I'll be online tomorrow during normal class time, so ask away. Okay? Thank you.